we're going to be playing some more of Andy's music from the various artists. You had a female rapper that's recently been signed on to Polydor?
Innocent Records.
Innocent, excuse me, Innocent. We've been exchanging so many different label names that I'm getting lost. Innocent Records. Her name is Wonita.
That's right.
We're going to play something from her, a Mancunian rapper.
Yes, that's right.
And there's also a couple of other bands. But before we do that, I want to explore just ever so slightly what happened after 18. Did you go off and get a proper job for a while? Were you still writing? What were you doing?
I went off and got a proper job for a while. I was, I guess I got to a point where I needed to make some money and, think about a proper job. I continued with my education as well while I was doing that. And I got very involved in people development as a job, and had some involvement in marketing and human resources. And it's really ironic, actually, because now I look back, I realise actually what a good grounding some of that was for working in the music industry, because part of being a good producer, I think, is the way a team works in a studio, the way people interact, the vibe, the whole experience. And it's interesting how my background in kind of people development and training and whatever has helped me now. But I did that for a number of years, but at the same time I was always writing.
You also have a master's degree as well, no?
I do. I have a master's degree in human resource management, which I picked up along the way. And again, I used to think, well, that's kind of completely unrelated to the music industry, but the more I work within the industry, I realise actually how valuable some of that was to me in terms of just looking at the way people interact within studios and how you get the best from artists.
Do you find among your colleagues, your co-workers, the people, your co-collaborators, that there are similar stories that people actually have, record producers have degrees in various things, or is this something different or special to you?
No, I've actually met a number of people who've come from different routes. A producer I know really well and work with is a psychologist by profession.
Another handy little trade to have in your back pocket.
I only discovered a couple of years ago he had a degree in clinical psychology. I thought, my God, what's he doing when every time I'm in the studio he's probably analysing me. But I think people do have other interesting backgrounds. Not in every case. I mean, some people, another guy that I worked the guy I did fantasy with, for example, has never had any other job at all apart from music right from an early age. And but it's amazing the variety of people that you do meet. Another guy I work closely with, most of the summer he's an artist. He's doing painting in his studio and makes money as well by selling his paintings, so I think it's one of those industries where there's artistic people often have kind of other strings to their bow and, backgrounds.
Is that perhaps the attraction for you, particularly because you obviously have an interest in human resources? Is that an eclectic group of people to gravitate towards? The people that tend to be in the entertainment world, music industry, is it eclectic?
I think so. I mean, I've always found myself gravitating towards that and those type of people, who... whether it's through their backgrounds or what they're doing currently, that their whole reason for being is to express themselves in a particular way.
Paul and I often laugh to ourselves because we look at our history, our checkered past, and find that we have always had the weirdest group of friends.
Yeah.
There have always been musicians or artists, but very intellectual at the same time, and maybe that's an interesting attraction. And after having met you over the internet, which could have been a scary experience, mind you, we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into, although we did speak on the phone and I saw saw your picture, so I knew there weren't any, horns growing out of your head or anything. It's been a pleasant surprise. In fact, you and Paul are like peas in a pod. You drink a lot of coffee.
Yeah, we drink loads of coffee.
You stay up very late at night, wake up a little later than the average bear, so it's been a pleasure. Another thing that is interesting link between you and Paul, the resident songwriter at MMI, is that you both write a varied range of material.
Yes.
And I wanted to move to Wonita's track, which is, I believe, has been released in the UK.
Yes, it is. It's out on promotion now in clubs and getting a bit of radio play. It's the taster single that's out on promotion at the moment.
You had never written R&B and hip hop before.
No, I'd done a little bit of R&B, but I'd certainly not been involved in hip hop. And when I was approached to do the job, it was a little bit scary, really. But the guy who I worked with as well, I mean, he'd done a lot of R&B, which helped. But our starting point really was to do what we know best, really, and start with the songs. Mm-hmm. So we actually approached it from a good old-fashioned songwriting point of view, really. We actually sat down with the acoustic guitar and started mapping out some sketches for songs, and then kind of married that up with the beats and the approach that we needed to make it a hip-hop sound.
And what is this first track of hers called that's being promoted in the clubs now?
It's called Uh-Oh.
Uh-oh. And her name is actually not spelled like the Spanish Wanita because her mum didn't know how to spell it.
Apparently so. Apparently that's the story, so it's spelled with a W.
It's spelled Wonita, Wanita. It's another exclusive to Fame Games and exclusive to OCI Radio, written by Andy Hayman, who's here at MMI this weekend. Actually, you're leaving back for London tonight, so let's spin this track and we'll be back with that interview in just a moment.
Each other, I cover my heart. This lover is smart, apart from stirring me up. You corrupt and interrupt, better up every night on a regular basis. I decide you still on my face, and I'm just complaining cause I heard all the name and you lay the same lame lines. You playing time after time on the ladies. I gotta follow my head, although I'm close to the edge. I'm one step further and your trap will be fed. I can't even speak.
That track was written by Andy Hayman, performed by Wonita. It's out in the clubs now, being promoted, and it's an exclusive to Fame Games. And MMI is a proud sponsor of Fame Games, where they believe that of all the things in life, music is the best. Would you think that, Andy?
I would say it's certainly near the top of the list, if not the top of the list.
When I first met Paul, he had on his site, the Mere Music site at that time, before it became Mere Music International, that music was the only pleasure without vice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when I saw that quote, I thought, I like this guy.
Yeah,
I didn't know him very well, but I thought, I like this guy.
Yeah, I get that. Absolutely.
You've also written for a group called Smoke 27. You've also written for Garreth Gates. I hope we have some time to spin a couple of those tunes. But now let's bring our listeners right up to date. You're a busy guy in London these days. And you just came back from Sweden?
Yes.
And what were you doing there?
I was doing some work with Joanne O'Meara from S-Cub7, who's developing her solo career. And fortunately, I've been invited to collaborate on that project with her. And we had a really, really good time in Sweden, actually.
What is she
Fantastic. Like? She comes from Essex as well. So there's a kind of, we kind of speak the same language. She's a very earthy, down-to-earth character who says it like it is. I like that. I'm used to that because that's kind of my background as well. It's refreshing, and you really, really can communicate on that kind of level with her.
Because Jo is the lead singer of S-Cub7, the public would expect that she'd be the first solo act to come out, but it wasn't her. It was Rachel Stevens.
Absolutely. I think there are a number of factors for that. I think finding that I think the career direction probably for Rachel is a little more obvious. Mm-hmm. And I think Jo, from my discussion with her, wanted to just kind of take stock of where she should go. Her voice, actually, she's a terrific singer, terrific vocalist. And I think it was a way of, looking for the right way of maximising that, capitalising on that great voice.